Hello everybody and welcome to the Sideline Eye podcast. We're live here from Crossmaglen Hall and we're looking ahead to the senior championship final coming up on Sunday. It's Crossmaglen taking on Granemore. Crossmaglen searching for their 46th title while Granemore are competing in their first ever final. I'm delighted to be joined by three guests who are going to talk us through everything that's going to come up on Sunday and that we've seen throughout the championship as well. So first up to my left here, it's a man who needs no introduction in Crossmaglen or Armagh. A man that knows all about championship final days, an All-Ireland winner at club and county level. As a manager, it's Joe Kernan, and he's going to give us our Crossmaglen angle this evening ahead of Sunday's clash. In the middle then, keeping everything neutral, is Tommy Coleman. Again, needs no introduction for his exploits in the championship. Of course, he took Clonard to the championship final last year and defeated Crossmaglen in the showpiece. And then, giving us our Granemore angle, it's going to be Declan Doyle, former player for Granemore, goalkeeper and full forward. And the last time Crossmaglen and Granemore met in the championship, Decky actually top scored for Granemore, so he'll give us all the hype, all the confidence that's coming from Granemore ahead of Sunday's game. Joe, just to start, I can't have you on without asking you about Armagh 2002. It's 20 years this year. Does it feel like 20 years from Armagh and All-Ireland?
When I get up every morning, I know it's 20 years because the body's right. But no, time does fly. But there's not nearly a day or a week that you don't see somebody or you remember a certain thing that happened. So it will be and is forever in your mind.
I know it was such a big occasion, obviously, first time ever in Armagh's history. And we're going to be talking a lot about first timers. And Tommy, I'll bring you in here. The championship so far to date, Tommy, you're obviously a regular on the Sideline Eye podcast, so you've been on a good bit talking about most games, previewing and reviewing games. How have you felt about the championship? How would you sum it up ahead of Sunday's clash?
I think that it got off to a slow enough start, matches. The first match, what set out was Grange and Madden. We thought that was going to be a real humdinger. It really turned out to be a disappointing game. Madden really played well that day and looked like a team that could really be in the shake-up this year for the championship. And then they were to lose out the good Killeavy side out here in Cross. So it took a wee while for the teams really to get going. Even Cross themselves, when we look at their performances against Silver Bridge and Drummond T, they just weren't really at themselves. And then it really took that the Mabry game. I think the Mabry game really started to focus the minds of everybody within the squad and knew this is game on there and we really have to produce the goods. And for me, I think probably Cross really came in at that their stage. Where I suppose with Granemore, when I watched them again, the Oaks, and it was a fair tussle. It was probably towards the end of the half. Pierce Oaks had a great chance to score a goal, missed it. Granemore was straight up the field and stuck it in the net, and that ended up to be the difference of the game. And then that allowed Granemore then after that probably to build out their wee bit of momentum. Again, got the win again. Mullabon, and then had a great performance in Killeavy in the semi-final. So they've built up nicely as they've went along through the championship.
And Decky, as I mentioned, first time ever Granemore have got into the championship final, and obviously beating Killeavy was such a big occasion because it had been a stumbling block, the semi-final, for a couple of years for Granemore. So how has the hype and the buzz around the club been in the 2 weeks?
The hype has been brilliant. It's been 73 years. We've never been in a county senior final. That was our 5th semi-final, and again our last one we got caught in extra time, and we just felt like if we could just get over that next hurdle, like it would be massive for our club, and it has been. And we had a bit of a coffee morning that day, and there was loads of wee ones down, and it was class, and got to meet the players, but all that there's out the window now for the players. They have a game to concentrate on next week.
And there's nothing safe in Granemore. Everything's green and white, cows, killers, everything you can get your hands on.
And if you stand still long enough, they'll paint you. At the minute.
Tommy, that's something that I was talking to you about before we come on live. You obviously experienced this as a manager last year, taking Clonard in the championship final against Crossmaglen. It's the exact same situation that Granemore's going in. There's obviously buzz, there's hype, there's excitement around the club. Everything building up to the final, but as a manager, how difficult is it to find the balance between enjoying all that, because it doesn't come along every year, and focusing the minds for there's still a game to be played.
Yeah, well, it was. It is a fine balancing act, and one thing I wanted to do, I didn't want to stop the enjoyment of the players. You know, it was our first final in 53 years, and where clans had beat us the last time, and you know, most of us, you know, of that age, like I was, although I was only 4 or 5 at the time, and I couldn't remember it, and most of the people around the club, to be fair, hadn't experienced us being in a final, so I wanted to embrace it. I wanted the players to embrace it, but at the same time, we had to put a handle on it somewhere where we were going on. We're all singing off the same hymn sheet. So, you know, social media is an absolute disaster, I think, for everybody, and everybody agrees with that there now. You know, if it's used in the right way, certainly I'm all for it, but, you know, we sort of put restrictions where social media was, and by anybody putting up personal posts and any stuff like that, none of that there was to be done at all. So we managed that well. Where the press and everything else was, you know, I feel as a club, and you're going like, you have to embrace that. I personally, and I took on that responsibility along with the management team. It was something that we done, and if any individual players who were contacted by the national press, they were to report to me first, and we were to have the conversation, so that everything was on the line on where we were going and what we were saying, so that nobody was going out and doing a solo. So that worked really, really well, but I think the whole enjoyment of it was, even when we're meeting people in the street, you know, I take the dog for a walk, the walk's usually a 40-minute walk. During that there, a 3-week build-up to the championship, because that's what we had last year with the three-week. My walk with the dog ended up being about 2.5 hours, 3 hours at night, and that's the truth, you know. And I made time for everybody. Anybody that stopped me, anybody that made me good wishes, and it was a very big thing for Lurgan last year, because you know the last time the Lurgan team had won it was 27 years prior to that there, which was Gale, and I think Clans maybe 2-7, 2-8, maybe played was maybe 6. I'm not sure. Played with Cross, and they were the last Lurgan team in a final. So for a Lurgan team just to get to that final, not only did it generate a massive interest within Lurgan, you know, or in our club, it did the whole of the town and the outer reaches of the town. So it was a real enjoyable experience, and you know, as I say, we embraced it, but I kept it cool, because I did want to keep that protective shield on the players, because in the end of the day, they were the lads that were going to have to go out, they were going to have to perform, no matter whatever else we do. It's us, as managers, we have to protect them and make sure that they're able to play.
And Joe, Cross are obviously used to county finals at this stage, but this is probably a wee bit different, coming off the back of what happened in 2020 and 2021. Is there a pressure on Crossmaglen here that, you know, they have to win this county title because they've lost the last 2?
Well, we felt we had to win the last 2, but this cup, the Jerry Fagan Cup, is meant to go round, and we've seen the last 2 years that it has gone round. So hopefully, but this team has changed so much over this last 4 or 5 years, and this last 3 years in particular. We've an awful lot of young players in there now. Unfortunately, we had a few injury problems over this last couple of years as well. And at the start of this year, with the county boys away and the injuries, there were some days we were lucky to field the team. We were really struggling, but the fact that we got men back and the county players are back, like every team starting off at the start of the year, you're starting off down on the bottom, and you have to build it. Like, I'd prefer to be playing well now than playing well in the first round of the championship. So it's a steady progression. Confidence grows. You know, everybody feels better about themselves. But we know that, you know, this is one that we have to be totally refocused on. You know, we always have respect for the opposition. It doesn't matter who they are, where they're from. You know, everybody's entitled to be there. Granemore's entitled to be there. They've earned the right to be there, and we will certainly give them 100% respect. But it's about what we do. If we perform, hopefully we'll win. But if we don't perform, you know, we could be in trouble.
And Decky, Joe saying Granemore deserve respect. They've earned that respect, beating Mayo, Smallabon and Cleeve, and in doing so they haven't conceded a goal yet. So I think a lot of our discussion here, our analysis, will be based around the Granemore defensive structure, that they haven't conceded a goal, and if they can keep the score down, they're going to be in with a chance on Sunday.
Yeah, well, like you go to build a house and you start at the foundations, and again that's where Granemore, like, they have a good solid defence, and they try to build a lot in that there, like, and yeah, it's just the modern game too, like you have bikes filtering back and stuff, but like we don't really like to be known as a real defensive team. Like, it's just the way the game's went now, like that you keep it tight at the back and you try to build, and everybody tries to attack, you know, with the ball and stuff, and that's just the way Granemore's been set up like this last couple of years, really. Like.
And I suppose this is going to be their biggest test, facing the Crossmaglen forward line. Like, they haven't come up against a forward line like this. Well, it's probably the only forward line like this in the county, so this is their biggest test.
Yeah, well, look, it's probably the best full forward line in Ulster club, even maybe Ireland. Like, and like, yeah, it's a great test for everybody. Like, but like, they'll just have to collectively, every one of them, will just have to get on with their job and try and do their best. Like.
And Joe, do you go along with that? That's certainly my opinion, that the full forward line across Crossmaglen have is the best. Like, you know, I think East Kerry might have O'Donoghue and Clifford or something maybe comes close, but Crossmaglen's full forward line is probably the best, certainly in Ulster, as Dackie said.
Well, the way they played the last day, Nick, in the first couple of games you wouldn't have said that, but as the matches come along, you know, the confidence grows, you know, everybody knows exactly what they're doing, and when the chances come, you know, they're getting sharper. Matches makes you sharper, and the further you go, the better you get. So we hope now that we've hopefully saved the best wine for the final.
And Tommy, have you been impressed with how Granemore have set up? Like, the not conceding a goal has been massive for them, obviously, because they've got a goal at the other end that has been the difference in all 3 games for them.
Yeah, I have. You know, my fear would be if they defend too deep. That's where I would see where the game goes. You know, we look at Cross, and the phenomenal. The scores was just phenomenal. That was a privilege to be there to watch the semi-final game on the way that they played the football. And you know, okay, the first goal was a soft goal, but you know, you could see them saying, we have these boys here, and you know, Mahoney had that back, but they had put their defensive system right along the 50-yard line. They threw everybody in, and the boys just picked off. And it just, what impressed me more, I think Rain got one of them, but Owen had come up, Stephen Morris, young Fitzpatrick, young Finnegan, we put them over from over 50 yards. And you know, if you're going to sit back and let Cross come at you like that, them lads will just ping it off all day. You know, their score taking that night was exceptional, and you know, it's as good as anybody in Ireland. You can talk, you know, you can talk about the Cliffords and all the rest of them. You know, Cross of 5 or 6 lads all capable of doing this here now, and you know, and that's something I'm sure Granemore have looked at, that they'll have to see, you know, and look where Mahoney went wrong, because it took Mahoney 15 minutes to realise where they were and try to push it up a wee bit. But the reality of the situation, the game was over at that time.
And like Dackie, that's a huge point. Granemore are going to be concerned about that. Like, Granemore will want to keep the score down early on and get a good start, because as Tommy said, the game was over maybe inside 15 minutes against Mahoney.
Yeah, it was just like Crossmaglen had rolled the years back by going and trying to win a game in the first 10 minutes. Like, and yeah, I think that would be a massive thing for Granemore to weather the storm in the first 10 minutes and try and settle into the game as best as possible. Like.
And ruthless Joe as well. I suppose we spent a lot of time on the podcast talking about the start, like, that made that the game was over maybe inside 15 minutes, but at the other end, you know, there's 10 minutes left and other teams are maybe fisting balls over the bar and whatever. Cross were going for goals, like they were hammering at home. They were ruthless in that second half.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, if you go back to Marty a couple of years ago, we probably should have went in 11-3. We missed 2 or 3 easy goals, and we gave away 2 easy goals. So instead of going in as close as we were from a confidence point of view, we played probably the best football and didn't get the scores. This year we seem to be getting the scores when they matter. So if we can continue on that vein, certainly we will cause problems.
And Dackie, just back to the Granemore defence, matchups is going to be key here. So it's going to be difficult to know. It's probably, the way I was looking at it, maybe Michael King going back in on Cian McConville, Ross Finn on Jamie Clark, and Kieran Doyle possibly, and Ryan O'Neill, depending on where Ryan O'Neill plays. If he's inside, he's midfield. He spent a lot of time even defensively against Mahoney, so Granemore's matchups are going to be huge as well. Yeah,
I think with the matchups, Cross have match winners everywhere. Like, you know, like Calvin Comiskey's had a massive year for Cross. Like, you know, you don't want to forget about him. If you start worrying too much about the boys inside, like Calvin Comiskey will score points. You know, Stephen Morris, Fitzpatrick. You know, the Cross they're going to get scores from everywhere. Like, and I don't think it's really a collective defensive. Like Granemore's, I think, if they're going to do anything in this game, it has to be like that. You can't rely on the full back line, you know, to do their job. Everybody has to come back and help out. Like.
Well, how do you see that, Tommy, with Ryan O'Neill? Do you see, is it going to be Kieran Doyle? Is it going to be whoever's closest to him? If he's playing out further out the field, sort of let him out there, but once he comes in 60 or 50 yards, somebody picks him up? Or how do you see Granemore dealing with him?
Me personally, now, I haven't a clue what way Granemore go about this, and I don't know. But from my perspective, watching it, the man I would put on would be McQuaid.
Yeah.
I put McQuaid on. I just think he's got the athleticism and the strength to try and stay with him. And if he can keep, if he can even go 50-50 or 60-40 with Rian, you've had a real good day. When I look at that, I would personally, if it was me, I would be putting him on him, and probably I would look at Ross Finn to pick up Jamie, possibly, and probably Kernan to take up Keane.
So that's probably Granemore's matchups, Joe, in terms of the matchups that Crossmaglen are going to see. Probably Jason O'Neill's the main man in the Granemore attack. He's their main scorer. He scored, I think he's got 14 points in their 3 games to date, and 6 the last day out. So probably if he's at 11, James Morgan's probably going to go on him. And then depending where everybody else lines out, Cross usually try to go, whoever they're marking at the start, that's who they pick up.
Yeah, I think we've gone back to what the good old days were. Every man has a job to do, and if you do your job in your area, you will certainly will help the team. So there's no excuses for boys picking up space. You pick a man, you mark the man, you try and outplay that man, and I think that's the way we've tried to play, and we tackle hard together. We work hard as a group. But there's no individual. The only thing you have to do is the individual job that you have to try and beat the man that you're on. And I think that's good for the game. And I think the way the boys play, it shows that there's no hiding places out there for any cross player, and they all have to work hard and do their bit.
And we mentioned Jamie Clark. I'm going to have to ask you about him, Joe. Like, what an addition he has been. Like that Mahari game, I think he might have only scored 2 or 3 points, but he was unbelievable that night, and he's just steadily getting better sort of every outing, isn't he?
Yeah, well, Jamie missed a lot of football there for a couple of years, and Jamie is the brunt of everybody's have a go at Jamie. But Jamie's a different type to compare to, say, the likes of my Aaron, who wouldn't miss a match and played every match this last 19 years. This is his 18th, 19th year, but Jamie brings something else that other players don't. And the one thing you have to have is Jamie hungry for the game and wanting to play. Jamie is really enjoying this team at this moment in time, and as you said, he's getting better as each game goes along. He missed nearly 2 years, and nobody after missing 2 years is just going to come back in and start to play. But it takes 1 or 2 men to mark Jamie at all times. So the addition of having him there, 1, he can make scores, 2, he can score, and 2, it takes 2 men to watch him. And his work rate is unbelievable. He's tackling everybody. He's working harder than ever, and getting back to the form that we know. So we're delighted to have him back.
And that work rate, Tommy, we always talk with this Crossmaglen full forward line because of the scoring potential. But we've seen particularly Rian the last day was back. I think the first 2 turnovers Cross got in the game, it was Rian O'Neill back in his defence getting them. He was back defending the square and defending that high ball, which Granemore, possibly Brendan Boylan, does come in and out at times, and Granemore got 2 points off that against Clevie. Brendan Boylan drifting in on the long high ball in. So that full forward line, their work rate's incredible as well, and they will do their defensive work.
No question. If you remember that, even if I go back as far as the Silverbridge match, who was the man that caught the ball on the 21-yard line? Rian pinged the ball, came to be a great diagonal one right across the field, and then he pinged the backside of the defender for young Finnegan and stick it in the net. That's real all over. But I think it's typical of the whole Cross team. I just, when we watched them again, Mahari, their hunger, their work rate, their desire, their passion, all over the field, each and every man, to every one of them, every single one of them, were there that night, and they showed what it was, and showed what it meant for them to wear the Cross jersey. And there's no question about it. Them lads have been hurt over the last 2 years. They have the match. As Joe said, they probably should have been more ahead, or really ahead against Mahari. Again, us with 15 minutes to go, it looked like there's one hand on the cup. I know that there hurts, but I'll take this moment here just to acknowledge this here. We all talk about how great the Cross team is and how great footballers they are, but there was one thing really that I admired about them is the way it's easy being magnanimous in victory, but in defeat they were even better. The they stood there, they shook every man's hand, and as hard as that was for them to take from winning position, they were a credit to everybody, and I think it speaks. And you know, the messages and the phone calls that I received from the people of Crossmaglen after that game was immense, you know, and the good luck wishes. And you know, they're great games, and they're very, very proud of their club. And of course they want to get back and they wanted to win. But I think that's another side to them, and I think this is shown here this year, that their hunger, that desire that you need. And you know, and Joe know better than me, but if you go out on any given day on a championship and you can't match that team's hunger and passion, you're not going to win.
Yeah. And Decky, there's no question about it. Granemore's going to be hungry here as well. Like that, I know I've been speaking to a few players that had a media morning last Sunday, and talking to them, yes, they were delighted, they've created history, they're in the final and everything, but you know, that's not enough. They want to push on, they want to do something here, they want to do something even more special and create more history.
Yeah, well, like we haven't been in a county final from we won the intermediate in 05. The last thing our senior team was won was the Division 3 in 06. Like, so like hunger is going to come natural. Like people have said about, you know, Cross is fierce hungry for this championship. Like they haven't won it in 2 years. Like, we've never won it. We've never got there. Like so, like hunger is not going to be nothing that the Granemore boys aren't going to bring to the pitch on Sunday. Like.
And there's going to be obviously nerves there as well. Decky, I'm not sure pressure really on them, but there's certainly going to be nerves and excitement as well.
Yeah, with any big game you're going to have that. Like, but you just hope that the boys will settle in, get a good warm up in, and settle into the game nice and early. Like, because if you don't, you could be beat. Like.
Yeah, well, we've seen with Mahern, we've touched on the good start has to be for Granemore, and they have to get a good start. But I suppose, Tommy, we've talked about Crossmaglen's, in my opinion, their best line, their inside line. Granemore's best line is probably their half-back line. I know you've sort of touched on that, you've been really impressed with Kieran McQuaid, and I thought Kieran Doyle the last day was magnificent, and Michael King as well had a really good game. So
I thought the three lads were outstanding. Ross Finn had a very good game, Hollywood had a good game, O'Hara made a couple of great blocks. You know, these lads, you know, they're a good side, and they'll be up for it, and you know, they'll fight the whole way. Them lads have plenty of pace too. But I think the key to games is who's picking up who there. If McQuaid's, the thing about if McQuaid is going to be picking up rain, I don't think he'll not have the chance to drive forward as much as he does, which is also another great asset to Granemore. But that's maybe delegating the job maybe over to young King, who can move well with the ball too. So they're coming out of defence. They'll have to come quick, but you know, Cross will play on the front foot. So if you can go and you can go at them, you maybe get space and get it in and get it into the full forward line pretty quick.
And talking about the Granemore half-back line, Crossmaglen half-back line isn't bad, Joe. It's Aaron, James Morgan and Paul Hughes. It would stand out in any county team. It's and loads of experience and everything there. And I suppose me and Tommy did talk about after the Maher game, Aaron's hunger, and I know we've spoken about Crossmaglen's hunger, but for somebody that I think he has 16 county medals and All-Ireland medals and everything, for the way he was driving against Mahern, the way he keeps going and driving everything on, it's a credit to him.
Yeah, but it's a credit to the whole lot. James Morgan has played a fair bit of football too, and had a bad season by his standards early on, but he really turned it on the last day. So, and Paul Hughes is just a great engine. He can go up and down all day. But as a unit and as individuals, you talked about the hunger. Like those boys are hurting. You know what I mean? And the only way you have a chance of getting rid of the hurt is what you do the next day. You know, and while I have the utmost respect, I was lucky years ago to have two Granemore men, Tony McLennan and Kieran Toner, on the county for a while. Two great lads, but one thing about them, honest men who give you everything to have. And watching the league matches these last few years, every time we go down to Granemore, it's always a humdinger. You know what I mean? The two teams go head to head and have done. So, you know, we have to be wary of that. And everybody has to do their job. Our half-back line, certainly they can go up and score the odd point, but it's the amount of work to do in defence, the tackling, the chasing, you know, seeing danger, stopping it, and that's where hopefully their experience will be a big help. And
just on the league meetings, Joe, I know the last time they played in the league, Granemore won it. It was in Granemore, and I know speaking to the Granemore manager, he made the case that
I think they won the last two. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, they won the last two.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. So he was making the case that Granemore needed points more than Crossmaglen. Yeah. But I'm not sure about that. Like so,
they would say that everybody's not too happy at home or afterwards. You know, you just don't like losing. But when you do lose, you have to take it the right way.
But the confidence that Granemore will get from that,
Yeah.
you know, they've beaten Crossmaglen twice this season, so like they're going into this game with huge confidence.
Yeah, without a doubt, and that's why they're in the final, because the confidence they gained in playing matches earlier in the year, and that they have good players over the field, they have a hunger and they have it, but we have to meet that. That's what we have to do. We have to meet it. We've been here before, we've done that. The last time, 2 times we were here, we didn't perform to the level that we know we can. We showed glimpses early in the first couple of games against the Bridge and Drummond Heath, and we finished strong. So, you know, we've got to keep doing these things. It's the same, like every sport in the world is the exact same. You know what I mean? Every game you go out, you have to play at that high level, and if you don't, you're going to come a crapper. It happened to us. We don't want it to happen again.
And Declan, in terms of that confidence for Granemore momentum, I think they've won the last 5 or 6 games in a row, Granemore, including the championship and the last couple of league games to stay up in Division 1A. So they're coming in, they're probably peaking at the right time, and they're coming into this game with huge momentum as well.
Yeah, well, look, the last 2 league matches were really championship matches for us. They were must wins, like, and like, it's really important to stay in Division 1A for Granemore, like, as long as we can, like, because we're a small rural club, like, and like that's, you want to be playing the Crossmaglen, like, it's, you know, Crossmaglen have set the standard not just in Armagh but in Ulster and Ireland. Like, it's brilliant for every team in Armagh to come up against the Crossmaglens, and we're no different. Like, we want to be playing Crossmaglens, the Mahries, these teams every year, like, and yeah, the boys are going to get a lot of confidence out of them league matches, but like, league football is league football too, like, at the end of the day, like, it's, you know, it's all about the championship, like.
And talking about the sort of recent history and recent meetings between the teams, they've only ever met once in the senior championship when you played that day, 2015. The teams they've obviously changed a lot in that time, and Crossmaglen won that well, 4-15 to 1-7. But there's a lot of the likes of Aaron Kernan, Jamie Clark still knocking about, and Jason O'Neill, Brandon Boyle, Ross Finn were all youngsters at that stage. Really.
Well, that was really the start of this team coming in. Like, we had lost a few boys, and it was like the Ross Finns, Brandon Boylan's, all them boys, they were just really starting to come into the team, and it's took them really till this last couple of years to, you know, be leaders in the team and get a couple more fellas with them, like. So it has.
Tommy, just on that league meeting and the fact Granemore have beaten them and will take confidence from that, I know yourselves, you were in 1B last year, you didn't have that recent history with Cross, or that sort of, you know, you hadn't played them last year, you had in the previous years, you played them a couple of times in the championship and that, so is there any impact from the league? Will Granemore take much out of that, or how do you see that affecting them?
No, I think, no, they will have certain, I know that they've learnt about certain players within that, and I think that's as far as it goes. I think that league football is league football. Yeah, and I think, you know, there is just a thing in it when you have to win the games as well, and, you know, Granemore really dug themselves out of it. You know, it looked like they were staring at relegation, and the 2 brilliant win, and especially the last game Madden, to keep themselves up there. So at their run, they'll know that gives you confidence. Winning gives you confidence, and the longer you go on and win and run, you know, that mentality sets in, and that will stand by them. But, you know, they're going to have to, come Sunday, it'll, you know, the league, to me, the league meetings won't count for anything. You know, you're going into the championship final. It's a big day. You know, it's going to be a massive crowd, and, you know, Crossway used to, you know, and the boys will go, and I'm not praising them here or blowing smoke at them or anything like that. They've been there, they know what the crack is. Granemore's going to go in, and they're going to have themselves, and we had to have that talk last year about, you know, you go to the parade, you take a bit of enjoyment in it, but you have to remain focused at all time. That ball's going to go through in, and you need to hit that ground running. And if you don't hit that ground running on championship final day, you have to do it. And the other thing is whether keeping your discipline with the referee, discipline within your game plan, and discipline with each other. You know, and that has to stay there. And you know, last year we had the advantage of the water break, where we were able to relate messages after, you know, halfway through, so we could get changes done. But when you're in the cauldron of the athletic grounds, and the match is going full flow, and the crowd's going out, trying to get them messages out on an equal footing to everybody is a very difficult thing to do. So everything needs, you know, T's crossed, A's dotted before you take that to our field.
And just on the 2 managers that are coming up, Joe, does Stephen ask you for much advice, or does he listen to you much? Maybe he goes ahead of his own.
It's like pulling teeth. If I ask him a question, I get no answer. So no, he's his own man. You know, he knows the way he wants the team to play. And any manager will tell you, you know, it takes a while to get a team to play the way you want to play. I remember going back 25 years ago when I started to play the way across the way. I wanted to play. Everybody, half the people here thought I was mad until once the players agreed and were happy with what we were doing, then things changed. So I think he has the players now the way he wants. They're all singing off the same hymn sheet, and hopefully the results will continue.
And the fact that the youngsters coming through as well, Joe's obviously helped. Like I think he's made the under-17 final, he's won the under-19 final, and obviously in the senior final, and a lot of them under-19 boys are playing, like Thomas O'Duffy, I think Rowan Fitzpatrick, Stringer Finnegan as well.
Yeah.
So
we've been very lucky in the club that we've always had great young players coming through all the time, and even still at the underage, you go up there on a Friday night, you can see a child at 7 or 8 years of age and you say, Jesus, he's going to be a good one, or she's going to be a good one, and you're hoping that they develop and have the hunger to last in the game. But no, we're blessed that way that we continue to have young boys coming through, so long may it last.
Declan, the Granemore manager, obviously as I'd mentioned, you had been sort of knocking on the door the last couple of years, reaching the final in 19 and getting beat after extra time, like that close. But what has Niall brought to the Granemore setup that has maybe just got them over that line and got them, you know, that couple of percent more?
Niall, he's very professional, like when talking to some of the players and stuff, and everything he does, like he probably the first half of the year, yeah, we were missing a couple of players with true injury and all, but it was really the second half of the year whenever Niall got to know more Armagh football and other teams that, you know, he came into his own, like. So he has a great background team with his father and Ollie there too, like, and a couple of club boys, like, you know, so he's yeah, we were really happy with Niall, like.
And obviously Granemore haven't experienced this before, but Niall has. He brought 1 point to the down final in 2019, so that will be a valuable experience.
Yeah, well, you hope that you can get any wee bit of a help at all, like, and he's been there, so he knows what way to look after the players now coming into this week, like.
On the subs benches as well, it's going to be so important. We've seen Tony McLeod coming in the last 10 and 0, the goal obviously was the highlight for him, but he was back working. I think he caught a kick out and he was back for the second goal. He was the one back getting the turnover, so Granemore's subs bench is going to be huge here as well.
Yeah, well, look, with the likes of Tony, like anybody who knows Tony, like he's the most honest player you'll ever come across, like, and like, he was the only man who kept his eye on the ball, like, that's what he said after it, like, he says, I just played away till I heard the whistle, like, and you know, Tony never heard a whistle, like, and he stuck the ball in the net, like, and that's history now, like. But yeah, Tony's been a great servant to the club, and it was brilliant for the likes of him. So it was to get the goal, like, and get us over the line. His work rate, Tony would have played everywhere, like he was back in that match in 2015 we lost Blake Cross. He was full back, and now he's full forward or an impact sub, and like, if you ask Tony to go into goals on Sunday, Tony will gladly put his hand up, like, and he'll do it, and he'll do a good job, so he would too.
And Joe, same with Cross, like we've seen last year, obviously with Clonard and how big impact subs have on a game, so Cross, they'll be looking to use their bench as well. I know, like, the likes of Daniel Comiskey come on and got the goal against Drummond, so they do have impact subs to bring in as well.
Yeah, we're lucky. Daniel in particular has come on and done really well. You can see a maturity in him from last year where he would have been maybe a wee bit erratic with using the ball, but now I don't think he's wasted the ball in any of the matches he's come on. He's got a couple of vital scores and been a big bonus, and it is great. It's no longer a 15-man game. You need 3 or 4 men fresh to come in off the bench, and hopefully we have those.
And lads, we finish these podcasts all the time with our predictions. So, Joe, I'll come to you first. How do you see this one working out? Do you see Cross getting over the line, and how tight will it be?
I think the start's important for both teams. You know, for us to try and get in top early on, the same for Granemore. But I think the first 10 minutes could be cagey enough, and the longer the game goes on, it'll probably be better for Granemore. We will want to put to the sword early if we could, but. I think there won't be as much in it as people say. I always used to say I'll win by a pint with maybe a heart attack thrown in, but if we perform, you know, I honestly do believe we can win this, yeah.
And Dackie, how big of a chance do you give Granemore? I suppose, as Joe says, the longer they're in the game, the bigger the chance they have.
Yeah, well, like, ideally, like, you'd like to be coming down the home straight with been in the game a point or two, and you know, God knows anything can happen. Not a big high ball in Tony's every now and again, you know.
We'll have a couple of balls at the goal post.
Tommy, I assume you're going for Granemore, Declan?
Yeah, Granemore win.
We'll have a Cross, we'll have a Granemore, you're the deciding vote.
Yeah, I thought it might have went that way.
That's why I left you last.
Yeah, somewhere, you know, I think it's going to be a lot tighter. I've heard some ridiculous predictions during the week, you know, very easy or not going to be a match at all. I think it'll be an extremely difficult match. I would base that, you know, on the fact that, you know, there's a lot of lads there within that Granemore setup who come and they're in the twilight of their career. They're maybe never get another chance at this, and they'll be going at it, hammer and tongue the whole way. If they can stay in the game with 15 to go, you know, it could set it up for a real classic. But I think the performance of Crossmaglen against Macquarie has been one of the best performances I've seen from a club team. Probably, I mean, you're probably going back to the heyday of Crossmaglen when Joe himself was there. It was that good, and I think that if they performed to that level, I can see Cross coming out by 4 or 5 points.
So yeah, Cross get the deciding vote. That's your deciding vote, Tommy. So yeah, that's all we have for tonight, folks. We'll have a live audience here, and we'll have a few raffle tickets. McKeever Sports have been kindly enough giving us 3 free Armagh jerseys. The new Armagh jersey is out next Tuesday, I think it is, or Tuesday week. So we're going to give away a home jersey, an away jersey, and the goalkeeper's jersey. So we have a few raffle tickets handed out here. So 3 winners, whoever I pull out, whoever wins it, you can just stay behind, and I'll come to you, and we'll get names and addresses and stuff off you. Joe, if you pull one out there.
Pull out the full list. Yeah.
Just one, yeah.
Joe Kernan. 81 to 85.
81 to 85. So just stay behind. I'll get talking to you after then. Come on.
No, look. Good man, Noah.
Good man. I'll get your address and your phone number and all that.
I'll take it home for you, don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Okay, stop there. 66 to 70.
There's another one. I'll get speaking to you after.
Six to 10.
Early in.
6 to 10, one of our early ones. So that's everything, folks. Thanks very much. A few thanks to go out here. Obviously, a big thanks to Joe Kernan, Tommy Coleman and Declan Doyle for giving us great insight into Sunday's game, great analysis of what we're going to see and what we expect to see come Sunday. Obviously, thank you to Crossmaglen for hosting us. This was a great occasion. This was the first time I've tried something like this, and definitely Crossmaglen helped in every way possible they could. Roshi Murta, the Crossmaglen PRO, was a massive help, and I really appreciate them hosting us here tonight. And of course, Armagh TV, give them a shout out. Great team behind us, streaming this live, recording it for us. And without them, this couldn't have been possible either. So thank you everybody that come along. Thanks everybody that helped out. And we'll be back on Sunday, obviously, we'll be bringing previews, match reports, articles and everything for the game. And we'll be back with another podcast next week. So thanks everybody for helping out and everybody that come.